The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of guitar building chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi. Hello people. As we start, I always look down and I can see Scott putting a face, a welcome face. Great, so for any of you that are new here that haven't seen it before, we're going to talk for about an hour and a half about some various things. Myself and Scott are here most weeks. We've got Mark, who's been with us for a few weeks. And in fact, last year, Mark was on as a guest and we sort of focused on him for an hour. But just below me at the moment is Kent from Tunguska Guitars, who we've invited along today to talk about guitar building things. But also, Kent, I remember in the Great Guitar Build-Off when I first started watching it, how amazing I thought your videos were.
Oh, so thanks, man.
I want to talk about those. I know, Mark, you mentioned a while ago you're interested in the sort of storytelling element that people can get into their videos. Yep. And I feel like Kent's really embraced that somehow.
Yeah, well, doing the playlist and actually trying to watch everybody's videos, the people that actually did have some storytelling and, actually drew you in and gave you something to watch was refreshing, to say the least.
Well, it's my history. I mean, I went to college for this. I actually was a radio, TV, film major back in the day, and did that for a while, and kind of do it still. So I've always sort of been that way, and I agree with you, Scott. I mean, I love learning, watching the guitar videos, but I don't like doing it enough to just have the camera on every time. If I have to move the camera to do something, I might as well make it fun.
Yeah. I just always have the camera on in the shop, and I feel like I have to record everything. But I mean, when you're trying to work, it's hard to try to make it super entertaining too.
Yeah. Oh, and there's always I miss stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which one I was doing. It might have been the one for the guitar build-off this year where I totally forgot to record anything involving the neck, touching parts of the neck. There's been several of those where it's big black SpongeBob card a few hours later.
Yeah, I find I'll turn the camera off if it's like a really difficult or complex part of the build. I'm just I don't need this on camera. Turn it off.
Yeah, I feel dirty when I do that because, I mean, the point of my channel was always initially, to show all the warts and problems and how we got around them. So I feel dirty when I turn the camera off because I'm trying something that's it's usually because I don't know how long it's going to take. It seems like it's going to take a long time, and I got to figure out if we can do this. And then, so a lot of times I get back on camera, I'm like, so what you missed was.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but for me, it's always a new process, something that's never been done before. Mm-hmm. And I think the point of a video is we're showing you how this should be done. But if I've never done it before, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's like every time I walk into the shop. What are we doing today? And the ones that really get me are the things that I've done 5, 6, 7, 8 times before successfully, and then for some reason I forget how to do them on the 8th time.
All the time.
Wait, do I glue it first and then cut it? The one that gets me that I never can get my head around the right way to do it is a freaking headpiece on the guitar. Do I cut the profile of the neck first and then flip it up on the side and cut the angle? Do I cut the angle first and then deal with doing the up and down thing that Ben does sometimes? Or do I lasers? I mean, so I'm going to try something crazy and new and something that nobody's ever done before. I'm going to get a template.
Oh, we can talk about your templates in a bit, I think.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Look, just as well, if anyone else is new and doesn't know about it, we had the intro at the beginning that mentioned the Guitar Builders Collective, but I've got links in this video description both to Kent's website and YouTube channel and the Guitar Builders Collective, where as well as having this stream, there's a forum where people go online and sort of just share what they're working on, ask each other questions, etc., get some sort of community support. And then there's the Instagram channel. And Corey from Saul Good Guitars, who's in the live chat at the moment, manages that, and the Facebook, in fact. But the Instagram, he shares photos of builds from people in the collective, or processes of builds of people in the collective. And it's a great way to see and follow and find new builders. So check all of that out. If your background is in film, TV, etc., how did you get into the guitar?
Well, I mean, okay. So back in high school, this would have been '78. My buddy Bill and I were going to guitar lessons, and he pulled out a cassette. Well, we weren't going to guitar lessons yet. I take that back. He had bought, I think it was Rush 2112. And we were listening to that, and I had a couple Kiss records, and I had this old Sears guitar acoustic that the string action was, like that. And I just kind of started messing around with it, and then lessons, and then, one thing led to another, and I just really enjoyed it. So my senior year, I tried to build an electric guitar, and it was not good. I still have it, and in fact, that's a series that I have to finish up on the channel. Is I redesigned it 42 years later, and it's done. The only reason I haven't finished the video is because I can't find the backplate I made. I've got part of it. There were two pieces sitting right next to each other. The little round piece for the truss rod cover is there, but the backplate is just gone. So I might have to make a new one before I can finish the video. But anyway, so yeah, that was kind of the start of it, and I didn't really think about doing guitars until about 9 years ago. I bought a kit, really terrible Explorer knockoff from, I think, GFS, and that was fun. So then I did a Warmoth Explorer, or not Explorer, Iceman, because I always wanted an Iceman. I could never afford one because every time I wanted one, they were in vogue for that 10 seconds, and the prices shot way up. Kind of like Gibson RD was one of my favorites. I remember when those came out back at the music store I was taking lessons from, and right when I thought, oh, I could get a used one. Well, yeah, then Dave Grohl started using one. But I got lucky. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. My Gibson RD I got from a buddy of mine for an amount of money that's shameful. And when I got home, he called me and said, "Are you sure you want to keep that?" So anyway, but as you'll find out, and tell me to shut up, my storytelling tends to go down rabbit holes and off on tangents and over there and over here. And, I don't even know what the question is anymore. But yeah.
I think that's the sign of a creative mind, going off on tangents, not knowing what they were doing because you've discovered something new to do. Well, I hope so. I hope that's what it is.
I remember a million years ago watching a Billy Connolly comedy special, and he mentioned that he, how his brain works. He's like, I just have this tornado of ideas, and, and I'll just pull something out of it, and it, or it jumps out. It's like, talk about me, or I'll go away. He said, I thought I was mentally ill, but, now I just go with it. And when he said that, I was like, that's me. that might be everybody. I don't know.
I think it likely is just there's those folks that somehow can control it. And I gave up on that years ago.
Yeah. Somebody says something and it reminds me very much of something that sounds completely unrelated to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And my dumb ass goes off with it and sounds like an idiot. Yeah.
I have learned to try to gauge the room. It's like if they get really quiet and I look up and they're just kind of looking at me like this, I'll try to stop, wrap it up.
I've genuinely wondered if I'm just a little bit on the spectrum, because some social cues like that I just don't quite pick up on immediately. But
well, it's taken me 50-some years to pick up on them, so for good or ill.
51 years, and I don't think I've gotten better at it.
But
you'll become a guitar builder, and then you'll be locked away in your workshop, and you don't have to engage with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why we make videos. We can engage people, but we don't have to be in the room with them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's surprising how many YouTubers you see who, when they talk about their process, and also I find this sometimes with some musicians, where they're quite introverted and they don't really like crowds, but they're very happy on camera to portray that kind of extroverted character when they're telling stuff, revealing stuff, or making stuff. And I've heard about some musicians that just are so scared to go on stage. I think David Byrne, I heard him saying he's such a performer that he still gets really nervous before every show, and that just blows my mind with someone like him.
Yeah, every time
go ahead.
I was just going to say, every time I see somebody on camera that seems, I mean, they're visibly, uncomfortable on camera. I mean, on their own videos, like YouTube stuff, it blows my mind. For whatever reason, it's just absolutely natural to me. I don't know. And it seems that way with most people, but once in a while you see somebody that genuinely looks uncomfortable on their own video, and how does that happen? What's going through your mind? How are you, because it's not like I'm in front of a million people. I'm in front of a stupid camera, If somebody saw me filming, I'd be embarrassed, but,
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like if somebody walks in the room, I mean, I've got to shut my door here because just in case, one of my kids walks by, I'm going to be like,
yeah, I mean, that is, but
that's actually one of the funny things right now is, 10 years ago, we'll say, when my kids were first watching all of their gaming videos, all these YouTubers, and I was just like, YouTubers, what's the point? And now they're laughing their asses off that's something I'm actually kind of doing, sort of. I'm like, oh, so I've come around. I admit I was wrong. Is that okay? Am I allowed?
Oh, is that something to do with your background and your training? Being more dismissive of the medium of sort of online videos initially?
Maybe. I think it is because, I really did come from, a film and TV type of production background where there's a lot of planning. And, if there's a documentary, they're in theory talking to people that really know what they're talking about. And so it's always been to me a source of high quality entertainment and, and information and all that stuff. I mean, I know that's not always true, but that's kind of how my mindset is. So when, anybody could toss up a camera and start talking about whatever, it worried me a bit. And sometimes it still does. But, fortunately, I think that, it's easy to weed out the stuff that's not so useful. Okay, except it's not, because quick story. I put a mini split in my garage to try to control the humidity and keep it warm and, make it so I could have a longer working season in there. And I accidentally, I watched a video about how to put it in. Great video. And then a year after the fact, I see a video by this guy pops up and says, 3 things I wish I'd known before I installed my mini split. Like, 2 of them didn't matter. One of them was really important. It was, it doesn't matter what. But anyway, I tried to fix the problem. And in the moving of things to fix it, it sprung a leak. Nothing serious, just had to tighten the bolt. But it lost enough that it wouldn't stay running. And when I tried to get a HVAC company to come out and just top it off, basically, they said, yeah, we can do that. It'll be $1,100. And it cost me $12 to put the thing in the first place.
Damn.
Yeah.
So there's a warning story in there someplace.
Yeah. If someone can make a professional video, doesn't mean they're professional what they're videoing.
Yep. And his was nice. I mean, it was good information. What he told me, what he said to do wasn't wrong. It was just this one thing that isn't the best way to leave stuff. So if you move it, it's better. And I moved it because some guy on the internet told me.
Well, we've said definitely on this live stream before that one of the great things about YouTube and guitar making is watching so many people do it in different ways.
Yeah.
And you can sort of pick up the way that works for you based on the equipment and the space you have or your own way of working. and there's just so many variations of how to do it. Whereas I guess there's certain things where, or like certain elements of guitar building, or at least with the design, have to be done in a certain way. You have to space your frets in a certain way, or maybe you don't. Maybe you can have your frets in a odd position. It doesn't matter, does it?
I think that's like a relatively new phenomenon, though. This idea of the variance, right? All the different ways you can do one thing. Because the early days of the YouTube guitar building community, it was always one way. Like you see one guy doing it just because the last guy did it, and then this guy does it just because the last guy did it. So I think it's just recently that we've exploded, and we now have all that kind of like variance that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say early on, and you'll still see a lot of people that are just repeating stuff that Ben said. You know, Ben was the be all end all, and Ben has had a lot of great information for us, and he was a start for a lot of us, but he has said some dumb shit. From time to time, he said a few things that are a little, and you know, with some experience and seeing some other people do some things and doing, you know, some trial and error with your own stuff, you come to realize, and then you hear him repeat something he said some time ago, and you're like, no, that ain't right at all. Mm-hmm.
I've heard him correct things, but then he may correct something, but that's lost in all the videos where he hadn't said that before.
I specifically remember him talking about multi-scale, you know, and repeating that it was all about, you know, making it ergonomic for, you know, chording and stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what that's for. But
yeah, that part actually, that's one of the things that I'll never forget. He was building, I think it was Bob, that weird guitar that he expanded out, like cut slats in it, then started expanding it out. And I have always been just terrible. If I make a mistake and it's just a stupid mistake, it would really set me off. Like in ways like, you know, I'm in a car wreck, everything's fine. I break my shoelace and I'm in the wrong mood and I want to kill 8 people. You know,
right.
It's stupid. But I remember he was doing the headstock and he was splitting one of those pieces of walnut or whatever with the maple, and it went pink and broke off, and he went, oh poop, and started laughing. I thought, there you go. That's how to be. It doesn't matter. If I can't fix it, I'll just change the design. And that was, to me, that was sort of life altering in more ways than I maybe even realized, because I did think everything had to be done a way, and if I wasn't doing it the perfect way with the perfect tools, then why am I even bothering? And man, I'll try anything anymore. Make it with a spatula, sure. It'd take a while to carve out that pickup cavity, but I'm sure it could be done.
Well, I'm going to make it from a spatula, and I just pictured lots of spatulas stuck together.
And there you go. Resin.
Well, it was like when you were talking about your process and you can't remember what order you did things in. It always makes me just think through it again. And I've run into the situation where there's a lot of things that don't necessarily have to be in this order. And sometimes, sometimes it depends on how you go. You may have to do it backwards this time, or, you know, but for me, forgetting my process and having to, you know, just work through it again. Working through process has always been fun anyway, but you learn a lot in that process as well. So,
the problem solving or the mystery solving, it's almost more a mystery sometimes. Like, wait, why did that happen? Where's Scooby? I love it. I love it more than I find reasonable. Almost like it's like I've gotten to the point where I almost want something to go wrong. You know, which is not good, especially if it's like on a commission for somebody. Gary, if you're watching, nothing's going wrong on your guitar.
Yeah, I often find it's like those design challenges, like the engineering challenges. Like when you hit one of those and trying to overcome it, that's the best part of the build. Like everything else, like I can get an intern to do, you know, like that's the easy stuff, right? A guitar tech can do. But as like a luthier, as a builder, it's those engineering challenges you need to hop over. They're just the most fun. And then also we getting back to like, you know, when Ben broke that little piece of headstock, correcting your mistakes and pivoting and hiding all those tiny little, accidents. That's also making you just a great builder. And I think a lot of it is just hidden little accidents. My last build for Great Guitar Build Off, I had chip out in the bamboo. I had to like super glue pieces of bamboo strands together back onto the body, and like no one would know, like nobody.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the guitar that I sent you the picture that was in the thumbnail for this.
Yeah.
That was just every single piece of that was an engineering. How am I going to do this? Let's say I can't put a bridge on here the normal way because there literally is no wood there, and I don't want. A lot of people say just fill it with resin. I was like, I don't want to do that.
It's right near the top. You've got a picture of it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I skipped from a close up of it. There's you with it.
Yeah, so that the bridge is literally a piece of 3/8 inch mild steel rod, and I just took a blowtorch to it and bent it, and then tapped the threads. It's actually got nuts on the back side of it that hold it in place. And I thought this will never sound good. Yeah, right there. There's a close up.
Oh, I've gone the wrong way.
Go a little up, a little farther. Oh, there it is.
That's rad. That is so killer.
And the thing that just blew my mind, it actually sounds good. I really didn't expect it to work. I thought, okay, I'm gonna use a piece of steel, a steel ring to fake a sound hole, and I'm gonna figure out how to float the volume control in a hole. It was all just to see if I could do it, and somehow it came together and worked. And I'm like,
I've seen enough, cigar box guitar builders, use like threaded rod or a bolt for a bridge.
Yeah,
that doesn't really surprise me. But getting the right placement in that situation, that would be the big feat for me, I think.
Yeah, I don't, and it even intonates well, and there's no adjustment. It's like I can't fix it.
That's terrifying. That's crazy.
Now, if somebody said, "Hey, can you build me one of those?" That's when everything would go wrong.
Yeah.
It was an experiment. Just, hey, I've got this crappy piece of wood. There's nothing else. It looks too cool to not do something. But I don't know what I'm going to do. So
yeah. That's crazy.
And how did you? Is the pickup floating?
Yeah, it's got a. Hang on, let me see if I can. I have it right here. Maybe I can show you. If I don't fall over, it'll be a miracle. So it's basically just a plate on the back, and then I use that and reverse, just flip the screws. So instead of being in a which way? Yeah, instead of being in a pickup ring on the top, it's now just on the back. And I don't know if you can see into it very well. So you can see
That's cool.
And then then the big old nuts on the back and floating.
That's cool.
So it was way too much fun. I really, really had a kick building this thing, and I want to do something like it again sometime soon. The tailpiece on it was I had no idea that would work. Again, I just used a torch and heated up and bent it after I drilled the holes for the strings, bored a hole in here for part of it, and then the little flat piece I just bored in there and measured it out and cut it, and somehow it worked. Weird that it did, but
I think you had a video showing you bending it all. I remember either that or I saw it on Instagram, and I remember thinking he's really planned this out really well and knows completely what he's doing.
It was literally, it just kept evolving. It was like, okay, I know I want to do this. I know I can't put a regular bridge there. That wood's too soft. So what could I do? And I had, I'm trying to think how long before that. So I customized a motorcycle. I had a buddy that when I worked at UC that convinced me that I should do something with motorcycles. And I thought, you know what? All my hobbies involve at that point computers. So this would be cool. I'll buy a shitty motorcycle and we'll, you know, I took a class, learned how to weld. And so a lot of that stuff kind of was in my head about, you know, thinking way outside of what I normally know how to do. And that's one of the things that I keep meaning to try to figure out how to weave this more into my videos is I swear to God, anybody can do anything. There's no limits. I mean, if I can do this kind of crap, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, it just, what's the saying? There's somebody, it's have the courage to suck at something for the first time. Man, I just totally embrace that. Because what have I got to lose? I wreck a piece of wood.
I've thought a lot about it. It generally has to do with the things you actually had exposure to. If you've had some exposure to it, you know a little bit about how to get started, and you're aware of more of what can be done with that. You know, if I was doing, you know, if another hobby of mine was leather work, you know, I'd probably have leather involved in guitars. You know. Watching Forged in Fire, people, you know, building knives and things, fascinating. And I absolutely love watching that stuff. But but that's a little different because it, you know, takes $10,000 worth of equipment to even get started. But
yeah, me and my son have been watching that, and we looked into the same thing. There's some classes here in Cincinnati you can take that there is a couple of forges. We might do that one.
If there was like a class or something where you can actually get some type of entry knowledge and a little bit of experience, just a tiny bit, then you tend to have the confidence to go with it. But with no exposure whatsoever, you don't think about it. You know, the ideas that you could get from that don't come. Yeah.
I guess there are some things that you can't just experiment with on your own in certain ways because it is a bit too dangerous, perhaps. But I remember we had Jack on from JC Guitars a while ago talking about CNC building, and he got into CNC building by building his own CNC machine, which doesn't quite work like other CNC machines. But you know, that's how he built one, how he got into it, and how he knows how it works. And I just find that kind of curiosity of a way in and exploring things is often a way to open up new directions within that field. And as we said before, not everyone doing the same thing because that's how the last person's done it. So going to a class is brilliant. And if we're creative people, we can go to class and pull other things into it. But it's a shame with certain things like using Forge. There's no way you can just do that in your kitchen.
CNC is an example. It seemed so far away from me. Now that I've had a 3D printer for a little while, the concept is a little more, you know, intuitive. But still, there's an entry fee, and I know nothing, you know. So if I put the investment in to get a CNC machine, how long would it be before I could actually do something with it? I hate that there are those roadblocks and bottlenecks to creating, but I guess
the bridge on this one, or not the bridge, the tailpiece. I've got this huge advantage right now. I'm teaching at the University of Cincinnati again as an adjunct, and they opened a makerspace there about 4 or 5 years ago. And man, it is state of the art. They've got 3 4-axis CNC machines. Now I can't use them, but I can design the thing and have them make it. And it was like, okay, I figured, well, you know, design time and all this stuff. I said that might cost me about $350, $400, but you know, it seemed worth it. The final price of $780.
Damn.
It took the guy a little bit of time to get the tool paths all worked out, apparently. Yeah. So I was like, okay, at least I got the model now, and to make more won't be that expensive if I ever do that. But
yeah, and that's the trick. It comes down to like CNC. The CNC doesn't do anything. It's a dumb machine. It's a completely dumb machine. You have to be a decent designer, and you have to not just know CAD. You have to know CAM, which is the tool paths. The tool paths typically will be generated for you, but there's a lot of engineering involved with figuring out where that bit is going to start, how it's going to move, if you're going to be doing adaptive paths or parallel paths or finishing paths. So it's not just the design element. You got to be a good designer. You have to be really good at CAM as well. The CNC is nothing. It's just a piece of hardware. It's like your router, right? So don't think of it as like a piece of hardware that's intimidating. The intimidating part is learning the design element and the CAM element. You got to start there. And you don't need a CNC for that part. That's the beauty. Just start designing. You can do that without one.
Yeah, when we had to take the certification just so we understood the process, I think they used Fusion 360 for those particular machines. And we did the paths, did the tool paths, and it just was like, well, wait a minute, but if for this one, which tool do I need, and do we have that tool? There's a list of 500 tools in the software. Which one am I supposed to pick for this particular thing? And that's just experience, and that's why having that guy help me was super cool. And I'm sure I'll try something like that again at some point because it was neat. It's kind of cool to be able to design your own hardware for a guitar and then have it like in your hand. That was like, I'm digging this.
Yeah. And there's also like just the way we kind of experiment with guitar building and we kind of break the rules. I feel like there's also that kind of punk rock element to designing with CNCs. Like I've broken every single CNC rule. Like you got to do it this way. You got to do it this way. No, you don't have to. You can do it any way you want. You can design any way you want. You can make the tool paths any way you want. They told me, you can't machine aluminum on your machine. It's not rigid enough. Liars, I did it. You can do anything. You just got to be punk rock about it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yep. So, Ken, to deviate from actual guitar building, I'm going to get to us being punk rock about making videos. Because I just want to share... hold on. I'm not sharing the screen properly. Hold on. It was your Great Guitar Build-Up in 2022 where you had a series of videos and they all seem to be quite different.
Slightly insane.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to play one then. But we can see from the thumbnails, there's quite a lot here. There's 15 of them. But they all seem to be a self-contained little story.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said you've got your background in all this, but I wondered if we could just talk about how you thought about putting together your videos to try and inspire some of us to try some different things out. Are you planning what before you build? I'm going to make a video about this and make a video about that. You've got a video about the designing. You've got a video about when you go and buy wood somewhere.
It's a little bit that each piece of it, it's not so much that I planned ahead. Like I didn't know for sure what each video was going to be after maybe the first three, because I didn't know what was going to happen in the process. But it felt like every piece felt like it kind of like what I've heard a lot of us say about building the guitar. The wood tells you what it wants. It's like the video kind of tells me what it wants. I know the footage I'm getting. All right, I've done the design process. I was being all French and artistic here in this part. So it's kind of like I think about what in the thing I'm doing now, what is the story of that? And in this case, the story like here, I'm designing something. So what's the story about designing? It's all the screw ups. It's all the ideas. It's all the, here's the garbage that's terrible. Here's the, that might be a doable one. But I also, in this case, knew ahead of time that I was going to, this whole thing was going to be themed off of the Mach 5, sort of. The original version was going to be white and red with a big old 5 in the top corner. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's answering the question as well as I could.
I guess it was like this video that I've just got on in the background. Mm-hmm. Is this you actually doing all the design work, or did you afterwards think, I've got the design, I'll go back and make a video like this that tells the story of design?
I had 3 designs that I was thinking about that were based off of this idea. And so I started thinking, well, that's actually kind of an interesting story. How do you weed through all the designs you come up with? So I thought, okay, well, let me just do a filmed version of what I actually did when I was coming up with them, which was exactly that, just sketching crap out and seeing what I liked and what I didn't. So it's kind of like thinking forward and backwards about it. I know what I need to do for the video. What it actually might be will develop as I'm going through it. I mean, in a normal situation, like for a normal video, you'd script the whole thing out, and there's actors and crews and all that stuff. When it's just me, so which is the one part about doing this that I do find a little frustrating is God, I would love it if I was advanced enough to have somebody follow me around and shoot the stuff for me, so I have to think about it.
No kidding.
But it's just interesting shots and I think, I don't know if I think more visually film wise than other people, but I know that if it was just me sitting at a bench with the camera pointing at me doing this stuff, it wouldn't be as interesting for folks. And it would be as interesting for me. And if it's not interesting for me, I'm not going to do it.
What I remember really enjoying about this series, for example, was as the episodes came out, it didn't feel like the last episode, but there was a connection. So this episode, I think you going to pick up your wood and pick the wood.
Yeah.
So obviously that's part of the process, but it's not one that I'd seen other people really film. So you were covering the guitar building, but like the bits that other people had missed out of their builds in some ways. And because they all felt like contained little movies, even though they all had a different feel to them, like you said, the first one was, you said, like a French kind of arty film, they still felt like they were the same person's films, the same guitar build, even though they each felt very individual. And I really enjoyed it, like almost like watching a TV show each week.
Well, yeah, good. Thank you. I'm glad. It takes a little more out of you brain space wise. I don't feel like my the build stuff I did for this year's guitar build off were as good as what I did for the 2022 version. Even though there were still some of the same elements, like the fact that for the new guitar, I used the treehouse tree that that fell in our backyard about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Mrs. Unit loves doing all things camera. You are lucky, sir. But yeah, it's like I want to do more. Like in the first season, where totally. I was doing special effects. Like I made it look like I'd built a laser out of a hunk of wood and was burning the template out because I had my daughter under the workbench with an air hose spraying sawdust out of the slots that I'd already made. And then I covered her with a green screen and then shot a plate so I could have it look like there was nobody underneath it. It's like, really? And you start to think, how much is this worth it? Is this and I sure it is, clearly, because I did it, but you do hit a point where it's like, do I really want to spend 3 hours in After Effects doing making my guitar look like a lightsaber today? Well, yes, but no.
The reason I remember that one specifically is I just spent most of a week animating from the sort of plasma thing that comes out of the Ghostbusters proton cannons, put in a video of mine, and I enjoyed it so much, but it was on the screen for 10 seconds or whatever, on a video that hardly anyone watched. But I felt like I learned so much from it. I was loving it. So
that's the whole point. Yeah, you got to have fun. Like, if this stops being fun, I'm going to stop doing it. It's got to be fun. But the elephant in the room is YouTube itself and the algorithm and the analytics. Right? So like, I've looked at my analytics. I know what works and what doesn't, right? Yeah. And it's a shame, but the episodic series of videos don't do as well as a single video. It's as simple as that. If you show start to finish, if you have a video like that would be very successful. The breaking up of videos, they don't do so well. So I stopped doing those.
Well, and the content. So me and Mark Zabo is my partner in this crazy thing we're doing. He makes pickups and does the incredible fret work. I mean, my God, like better than factory. It's gorgeous stuff. But we thought, let's start trying to do something that's, for one, how do we engage in people that say want to buy a guitar versus people that are building them? I would like to sell some of these things and then maybe be doing this for my living at some point. So I love that. This is great. But how many of us are going to buy each other's instruments? We're all learning from each other and having a grand old time. But so we did one on, we took 3 Les Pauls and, from a $250 one up to a $4,000 one and compared them. And that's the best performing guitar video that I've got so far. And I felt successful because like there was one dude that, for the most part, people liked it. But one dude said, there's no guitar sound until 17 minutes in. This video's a joke. I thought, all right, haters, we have arrived.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people have really short attention spans, right? We have to cater to the short attention spans because if you're making series of videos, several, and they're all 30 minutes long, that's too much. You got to keep it like this. You got to grab their attention. You have to have quick editing. People are so used to like TikTok scrolling. We got to engage that audience, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way you're going to be successful. I mean,
what's really weird
Just
about
follow the
that,
analytics. Yeah.
Yeah. What's really weird about that, and I come from stories should be 2 hours long. It should be a movie. And then it was like, oh no, everybody's attention span is really, really short because of MTV was the first thing. It was all blamed on MTV because everything was But when was the last time that you binged a TV show for 5 hours? People do this all the time. So it's not that the attention span is short. I'm not exactly sure what it is or how to define it, but you're right. In the it's got to be engaging. If it's not engaging, then you're right. They're gonna like, nothing's happening. I'm gonna go away, which is one of the reasons why I think I did start doing stuff the way that I did that first guitar build off. And that was the first time I'd ever done this stuff. I had never contemplated being a YouTuber or doing YouTube guitar videos ever. It was like Ben made me do it, jerk.
Yeah.
So now I think I'm addicted. Oh well.
I've got to find, I think there is an audience for this live stream, and not just this particular one, I mean this series, and the other things that I'm doing at the moment. You're right, Ken, they're all aimed at other guitar builders, and I make guitars to sell, so I'm not selling them to these guitar builders. So it's sort of like, what's the point? And also, possibly the audience will grow, but at the moment there's 150, 200 people that regularly watch them, and I think it's the same core, at least half of them the same each time. And I feel like the quality of that and that community is the value of doing these, and YouTube is just the place that makes it easy to do it. Whereas if I was to, when I first started making YouTube videos, I was looking into how to find your niche, how to read your analytics and all of this, and I realized that I'm not concerned with trying to make the money out of YouTube. I'm concerned with trying to make something that I think is educational for the right people. And possibly YouTube isn't the place to do it to start with. And then using the analytics to work out what works better. So I've recently discovered, as I'm sure lots of people have, being more to the point's better. I've got rid of intros and things like that. And I'm just talking a lot. But what I found fascinating is we had Mark from Ferritone Studios on last year. So his studio does reviews of guitars, reviews of components, changing pickups and things like that. And he's doing pretty well. But his background is in analyzing data, I think, or looking at analytics in some way. And he was saying it's incredible how, for his channel and other people that brought him in to work on their guitar channels, who do demos of instruments, how people skip through the segment when people are playing. They actually prefer that they come in, they want to hear the demo, but they don't actually want to listen to it all. They just want to know it works and hear what the sort of final outcome is of things. And that surprised me a bit, I think.
It's weird. I think I've been doing that, not even thinking about it, is most of the demos I do, I try to keep, a minute or a minute and a half, just because I don't even want to watch it, and I'm, it's my guitar. It's like, that's kind of a weird thing to realize. I guess I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, somebody had a demo video that it was like 15 minutes and it was constant playing, and I found myself, I just skipped through the whole thing, but felt a little bad about that. But like, okay, yeah, I get it. It sounds good. Yeah, my demos are usually pretty sad, but I've tried to keep them pretty short too, just because it's hard for me to not sound like shit for an extended period of time.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do full production, like at first, like a full production in a mix. And I was just like, that's too much time. The level of effort is too huge. I'm just going to write a riff.
Yeah.
So I think now I'm just like, okay, here's a cool riff with like a beat behind it. And, it's in the mix. I always want to do it in the mix, right? Yeah. But yeah, before it was just like full productions and it was just way too much work. Like no one's
I probably still do a little bit of that, but I agree. It's like I want hearing what the guitar sounds like just out of an amp is important, but really it's more important, what does it sound like in a song with other instruments, because that's where you're going to hear it 90% of the time.
Yep.
I want it to sound good, but for the most part, I just want to say, see, it makes noise, it works.
Yeah. Well, most people are listening on their headphones on a phone or through the phone. I listen without headphones on a lot from my phone, and don't hear any bass coming through that.
Oh yeah. It's that like stabs me in the heart. And I do it too. It's like, I'm always like, okay, I got to get the studio speakers in the perfect situation. I got to get better better speakers for my TV and the best sound system I can possibly have in my car. And I'm sitting here watching videos on my damn phone, at 1 a.m, trying to keep it down so nobody else can hear it.
I remember, Mark, it might have been in January when you were talking about some other YouTube channels you've been watching, nothing to do with guitars, but you were being inspired by the way they told stories and to try and feed that back into the way you made videos. I just wonder if you have that as well, Ken. Do you watch much YouTube? And it's all guitars.
Yes and no. Usually what'll happen is something will pop up in my feed that says, hey, this is a thing you might be interested in. And, as we talked before, there are a handful, if Adam Savage has a new video, I'm watching it. The algorithms take control. I got into modular synthesis about 1.5 years ago, and was looking up how to do it. I don't understand how these modules talk to each other exactly, so I need to watch videos. And now I'm always getting 5-hour generative, analog groovy modulars, and it's cool. But I'm not going to watch all of it. So. Yeah, I poke around every now and then, but not as much as you might think. I'd rather.
I watch way too much, and I get the weirdest shit hit my feed, and I just get into it. And if it weren't for YouTube, we never would have watched 80 hours of people building shelters in the snow. Stupid things, but it's. There's all kinds of weird, fascinating things out there that you don't know that are cool.
It is nice how easy it is to fall down a rabbit hole like that now, and some of the stuff that you'll stumble across suddenly sparks an idea for one of these. It's like, oh, hey, that guy's doing this thing in his house with wrought iron and slate. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Mark, I definitely noticed after our chat in January that the next video you put up, or one of the next ones, started with a long shot of you in a window or a doorway. And it felt like you were embracing I can't remember the name of the woman.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like that. It was really interesting.
Yeah. The wide shot. So we don't do wide shots enough. I'm Kent, you probably do wide shots, but we're always in our shop, at our bench, at a piece of the guitar, right? We don't do where are you? Scott, where are you? Show me. I want to know. I want to know the story behind you and where you're at. Same with you, Daniel. What's going on? Tell us more about you and the location in your shop, and give us the wides, and then kind of come in to tell the story.
I started doing a lot where Oh, I just started doing a lot where I do my intro and, walking out in the backyard, just holding my phone up and saying, okay, hey, it's a pretty day today. And by the way, my garage door just broke. So I guess I got to fix this stupid thing. And I'll get the, so just, those little pieces. I think that's what connects you to the audience. I mean, the more they understand who you are, if they like you or hate you, that's good too sometimes. At least they're engaged in something besides just, okay, I'm going to show you how I build a guitar. Because, like you said, there's 8 million of us out there building guitars on YouTube, and everybody's doing it a little bit different. Some of us are doing there's certain things we all, like you said, we have to do a little bit the same. I hope. I do like the idea. I saw somebody that made a guitar that I can't remember was Guitar Build Off or not. The frets, there weren't all the frets. It's like, it was almost like they only went halfway across the fretboard at some places. And so part of it was fretless and part of it wasn't. It was super cool and making me going, I'll try that. But yeah, it's like, for me, that's the only way I have to do it the way that I do things, which is apparently going on and talking about stuff that may or may not matter. But hopefully I can figure out a way to tie it back into what I'm doing eventually.
Yeah. And that's it. And YouTube is a mirror. And people want to connect with something that they actually feel a connection with. And we all have different personalities, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like, you got to be unique enough so that you can get your audience to see themselves in you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the reasons, which is ridiculous because it contradicts what you just said, Mark, one of the reasons I don't film wide in my workshop, and often when I position my camera, I tilt it so it doesn't pick up the mess that's over in that corner. But actually that mess is part of me. But I have, although I haven't really done any guitar work for the last month, 5 weeks, I have been in my workshop every now and then reorganizing it. I put a few new cupboard doors on to hide some things and that I can put a bit more on that's a bit more my personality. And I'm going to be setting up a new YouTube channel which is about my builds, as opposed to the channel that I currently have, which is mainly things like this and things about like more educational instructional videos.
Yeah.
Because I want to have a narrative and a story to it, but I don't think they go together. It's a different maybe audience. And also for me, it gives me a new creative outlet to do that. So I'm the main thing I've been doing when I'm in my workshop at the moment is building this ridiculous set out of all of my leftover plastic water pistols and toy trains that I've been using in my guitars recently to create a funny wall. So yeah.
Daniel, that's a great idea. Like, I believe in like the curation of content. Like, I believe like when you go to someone's Instagram or you go to someone's YouTube, there should be a curation of what's going on. And if it's all over the place, then it's kind of weird, right? So I feel like I want to make sure that like my channel is curated in a way that like you have these kind of individual, pieces of content that you can watch once and you're done, right? And I like this idea, Daniel, because now you can have that outlet, right? That special channel just for like what you want to say.
And actually, that's what I liked about that series of yours, Kent, was the fact that although it was a series, if you watch it from the start to the end, you'd see the guitar being built. They did feel like little standalone things that could be watched by somebody, and you don't have to watch the rest to understand what's going on.
You know what, Daniel, it's weird. When you were saying that, I just remembered you had asked if I planned stuff out ahead of time. And I just remembered I actually sort of did. I remember writing a list of, it was basically effects I could do. Like, okay, the laser cutting the thing out. I was going to do one where I was going to try to make it look like I yanked a slab out of the side of a tree. I gave up on that one. That was getting too complicated. But I had a whole list of okay, this thing would be great for this piece. This thing would be great for this. This would be interesting. It's like every episode hopefully would have something kind of like that, me tossing the paper wad in the air and having it explode. Every episode would have something like that. And so in that respect, that really did sort of set the structure for the whole series. And then, the farther I got into it, clearly it started changing just because, okay, well, I need to do this and I hadn't considered that and whatever. But again, between that and wanting to try to figure out how to just be me, you know, just it's the way I do stuff. I've been accused of, like I said earlier, you know, going on and on. So what a better place to do it than on camera in front of 17 people.
Hopefully a few more in the future. But no, that idea of planning videos by the special effects you've got is just like how we've had people before talk about they're making their guitars by the choice of wood they've got. They've got this bit of wood that they're going to use as a top, a flame top or whatever, and that's going to dictate what the guitar is going to look like or how it's going to be.
I wish I was more of a videographer. I wish I knew more about all of that.
Hey, there's YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. That comes down to like one of my biggest problems with CNC is it's going to take a lot of time of investigating software and learning how to use this particular piece of software. Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is, you know, I actually teach an editing class right now, and I do everything in Adobe just because I have been forever. But there's a DaVinci Resolve, which is free, and you know, it's.
And I've got Resolve, and I've spent a little bit of time, and it's so foreign to what I've been using, and I know if I would just force myself to use it, I would, you know, slowly, you know, learn a bit more. It's just.
It's different. It really is. I have a couple students that want to use that, and I haven't used it in a long time. You know, it's like that color grading bit of the software is literally the industry standard. You know, probably any movie you've seen was color graded using DaVinci. So it's really cool that it's free. But if that's the thing. There was one, I can't remember the name of it. There was one software that was free that when I was first teaching, I tried to get my students to use. And I gave up because I could not figure it out. I have been an editor since 1990. I have been doing this either on tape or with film or now and then digitally. So I know what I'm doing. And for a piece of software to be so alien, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, okay, screw that. That's just silly. It shouldn't be hard. You know, you can do it with iMovie. You know, anything, as long as you can cut stuff together, you can make a video. It's just, you know, what's on the camera. You know, what are you seeing? And
that's the thing. My process is so simplistic. It's embarrassing. I use Camtasia just because I worked with it. I worked with it at work one time, and I know how to use it. And it's just
that's what you need.
Yeah.
And all I'm really doing is, you know, cutting stuff out and slapping some clips together. Really, I wish I knew how to do some more things and, you know, get some effects in there, and then I'd probably start, you know, storyboarding and you know, doing more of an actual production that would be more entertaining to watch. I'm just not there. And, you know, talking about telling a story, I know each video really should tell a story. And I try to do that, but it's always in post with, you know, I just record what the hell I'm doing and then try to do the story of this fretboard, you know, stupid story, but try to keep it, you know, relatively, you know, encapsulated and succinct.
Daniel.
Well,
sorry, I know Mark's got to go. Take care, Mark.
See, Mark. Oh, very nice.
See you next week. Yeah. So Mark's going to be here next week as well. When we've got in the chat live at the moment, Jackson, big unit. He's going to be here next week as well. But we're not finishing. It's just Mark had to leave there.
It's been good having Mark.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. Good guy. And I'm sorry, that guitar he did for the build-off was just off the rails.
Insane. Yeah.
My God. I was going to tell him that he ran away.
Well, he might watch the end of it back, and then he'll see that.
Excellent.
And as I've said, look, if there's anyone watching this in the chat or watching it in the future who wants to be involved and come on a stream, let us know. We're always open to having anyone on and people coming back. Mark enjoyed it so much he wanted to come back a bit, and he's in a situation at the moment where he's free all of February at the time we're doing it, which is why he's on, which is great. Kent, can I just share the screen again?
Go for it.
I've got to share the right page though, because I just want to talk a bit more about some of your guitars. I've said this a million times, apologies, about how I used to hate guitars that were just made of like with a wood finish, because I used to find it so boring to look at. But that's before I came across the sort of boutique builds and bespoke builds that everyone here is doing, where people actually find an interesting looking wood and think about how to place it instead of either the factory ones, or I've discovered recently there was a period, possibly in the 90s, where people were basically putting transfers on their guitars or prints, so it looked like it was finished. And these are beautiful.
Oh,
and
you
had that video of you collecting your wood. I wanted to just ask you, where does the wood come from that you've got? Are there particular things you like? Is it all local?
So the stuff that in the one video where I'm down picking up the wood, that's down in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. That's my brother-in-law. He had that shed full of cherry and walnut, and just basically just said, take what you want. I'm like, well, here's some money. He said, take what you want. I'm like, okay. So pulled the car up. Now these guitars, these are made out of the ash from the tree that fell in the backyard.
Right.
So it's super cool wood if you want to do a guitar like that. I'm struggling right now because I'm trying to make 3 of our V6 models at the same time. As part of that, how long does it really take video, which I swear I will finish. But the wood it's got, there's I'm probably emerald ash bore holes, that they bored through it, and there's just a lot of junk that is turning to be really, really hard to totally cover up. So when I finish it with the solid colors, there's not going to be divots and chips and stuff. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. So I unfortunately think that all that ash that I've got in the backyard is going to turn out to be only usable for really these sort of wacko guitars that look like they've been destroyed. Yeah, that one's the top is ash and the body is the walnut. So at some point I'm going to have to figure out where to source some other wood.
That's just cool to be from your own land.
Yeah.
We've talked some about how each season of like Great Guitar Build Off, where there's a couple interesting, very specific ideas that just kind of organically come out of multiple areas. I mean, multiple people just pop up out of nowhere. 3 or 4 people are doing this same thing just out of the blue. This last year, it seemed like the multi-level, different material thing was one of those that, it, for all of us who, didn't think of it, we're seeing this and thinking, all right, this is a whole new crazy idea that's really interesting, and the results were fantastic. So, starts to get some of us thinking about, some other ways to try to do some things, because the results of that were phenomenal. Visually, it's really awesome and interesting.
Yeah. Oh, so to the milling of the tree. So my buddy Jeff came over with a chainsaw, and he and I chopped the trunk into about 7-foot sections, 5 to 7 foot sections. And then my buddy Christina brought her Jeep over and used her winch, and we dragged him out of the ravine. And then there's a guy named Omer Hurlbert who has a company here in town called Cincinnati Sawmill, and he's got a portable giant bandsaw and a trailer sawmill. And he came, we just slabbed it up into 2-inch slabs and did some 1/2-inch ones just to see what would happen. So it was just talking, poking around and finding the right people to come and do the stuff for you. I would love to have a mill of my own, but there's really no reason.
Yeah. It was fun to watch, though.
Yeah, it was. Just sitting here watching him do it was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, it made for a fun video.
So one thing we've just sort of glossed over a bit is the guitar company. It's not just you then.
It was me for the first probably couple years I did it, and for most of like the first GGBO, I still did it, but Mark, I've known Mark for years. He and I have been in bands together, and just one day he was like, hey man, I do electronics, and I do this. I know he does a lot of guitar work for people, setups and all that kind of thing. So we were kind of like, well, we could, so you like doing fret work? You like it? Well, by God, I think we have a partnership now. And he was talking about, we wind our own pickups. He's got a whole station, and it's turning into a really great collaboration, and we're hoping to go a lot farther with it.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
I don't know. If I heard somebody say they like doing fret work, I would first, wonder if they're a serial killer or something. There's something's not normal about you.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I mean, I'm just not great at it, and he can make those things shine.
It's tedious. It's not fun. I don't. Yeah.
Now, if I could find somebody that really, really loved to do sanding.
Yeah. I've found I have this growing list of things that I wind up saying on camera. This is not my favorite job. Start to leave me wondering, what part do I like?
Oh yeah, I definitely I love the design. I love cutting them out. I like getting that shape hacked out of the out of the blank is just, to me, so exciting. For two reasons. One, because you see what it's going to really look like, and two, now that hunk of wood weighs like half what it weighed a second ago.
Yeah, I think one of the saving graces is one of the things I love the most is seeing the final product. Because if that wasn't there, I don't know if I would get to a final product.
I've got so many half-finished things. Some like 2 years on. I enjoyed making them so much, but when it got to the sort of finalising the wiring and putting certain bits together, I lost interest. And I can totally see how having someone that's passionate about that as a collaborator would make sense. In fact, in my head now, I'm thinking, maybe, why aren't I doing that? Why aren't I sending my guitars to a friend who I know loves doing all the wiring and asking him to wire them up for me?
Yeah.
And when Mark first suggested it, I kind of just for half a second was kind of like, well, but that means I'm not a luthier, or I'm not a luthier. Who am I kidding? But I'm not a builder if I'm not doing all of it. And then again, it's like, why am I thinking that? That's stupid. Does one guy make all the guitars at Gibson? No.
I would think the same thing.
And and there are a lot of people that do it all, and they do it all really, really well. And I'm sure I could learn to do it. But one of the other things that we've been trying to figure out is, and God, I've been watching so many videos about this kind of topic. How do you get to the point where you are fast enough, you're making enough instruments that you can sell them hopefully for a decent amount of money to keep going? And so it's like this, the three guitars, and how long does it actually take to build them thing, that experiment that I'm doing, where it really has turned out that, okay, if I cut three bodies out, it goes way faster than cutting one out and then doing a bunch of stuff, then cutting another one out and then doing a bunch of stuff. So the same deal. It's like we used to, when I'd make my necks, I would carve them and then ship them off to Mark, and ship them off. I'd drive them 3 miles down the road, and he would start doing the fret work. And now we're doing it the way I've seen so many other people do it, where I don't do any carving. I just give him the neck with the fretboard on it, radiused, and he says it just speeds up his process immensely. So we're looking for all those little things that we can do to speed stuff up, but still keep the quality high. And still, there's a lot of folks I follow that, Daisy Tempest, if you guys know her, she said that when she did a video that was really fascinating about the things she told herself, if I'm going to do this, these are the rules I'm going to follow. And one was only work on one guitar at a time, and only do this and only do that. And I thought that was really cool. And I would love to be able to say I'm only going to work on one guitar at a time. But I also know me. So if it was a big commission, then sure, then I can do that. But if we're just oh, Daisy makes fantastic videos; they're really good. I aspire to that level of gorgeous video.
I think though you're absolutely right. Since I decided to go full time making guitars, I've been doing one-offs, and I get so embroiled in doing those one-offs that they take ages, and then the next one I've got lined up starts a bit later, or there's a bit of an overlap, and having the overlap of two totally different guitars at different stages just makes them both take longer than they should. But when I was making 3 or 4 of the same type of thing in one go, it was so much quicker.
Yeah.
And I seemed to be selling more because I was making more. And not that I'm selling them all, but some of them take a couple of years to sell. But the fact was I was making more, and there was more being advertised. And because there was more being advertised, more people were asking for things. And it's really put me off making one-offs now. I'm definitely, if I make something, even if it's a commission, I'm going to try and make a couple of versions of that in one go. So it might be a commission to someone that's very specifically for them, but at the same time, I'll make a variant of it, which maybe isn't quite the same, but also allows me to experiment a bit in the process. Because as Glyn from Mr. Glyn's Pickup said, if someone wants him to make a one-off pickup, he sometimes has to make 5 pickups to get the one-off one right.
Yep.
And that's what I'm finding with my commissions. A one-off guitar, I can't sell it for the same price really, which is what I have been doing, as if I made a guitar which isn't a one-off, because it's so much trial and error.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, that's why I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what are our standard models? In fact, Mark suggested that we do something that's sort of a T style. And I started thinking about that. It's like, everything that I'm doing is really kind of out there, and that's fine. I mean, I love doing it. That's my thing. But it wouldn't hurt to have a model or two that feels like a more traditional whatever. So we're going to do a video series about this as well. We're going to do a T-style guitar based on an idea he had, but we're going to do a regular 6-string, and we're going to do a fan fret 7-string at the same time. I'm terrified. Just cutting those frets is going to be awful. But what the heck? Why not? And if it works out, then we got a really interesting. Here's what it took to do the regular one. Here's what it took to do the wacko one, and how close or far apart were those processes?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It hasn't been too often that I did multiples at the same time, but when I have, for me, it's actually been kind of a blessing that you can come into the shop and I could work on this or I could work on that, but I also didn't have the problem that I really wanted to work on one more than the other.
Yeah.
Or it would have really hamstrung, one of them.
Yeah, so it's interesting with those. So there's 2 sets I've done where I was trying to do how fast can I do 3 guitars. And the first one was one of the 3 models that seemed to be the ones people like the most. And that worked great up until a point, because like everything was going fast. And then I realized, oh crap, well that guitar is, it's got a trem. So I have to do a different setup for the routing for the bridge. And this one has a set neck, and it's a tunematic, so it's got to kick back at an angle. And this one is, so all of a sudden it was like going really, really smoothly. And then each guitar dictated its own things. And I kind of did lose some interest there.
Yeah. And then you realize you got 72 damn frets to do instead of 24.
When one of them, so that, that purple guitar that you were showing, Daniel, in the list. So one of these 3, that were different. There's the 3, the V4, the 3 of them. And then there's the 3 V6s. So of the first 3, one of them is that same model. And I tried to do a color that was sort of a translucent version of that purple. I hate it. I'm looking at it right now and I hate it. So yeah, so that one I love. This other one, it's not right. The color's wrong. The little blotchy areas, the bugs had chewed out that didn't stain the way I thought they would. It looks like somebody marked it with marker. So it's not anywhere near as cool as what we got on the screen right here. So I might take it into the makerspace at UC's got a sandblaster. I might see what happens with that.
Interesting.
Just tear it up even more and get that purple off of the newest one.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like somebody like literally went over it with a purple marker. It just doesn't have this texture which in here. This is pretty sort of whatever that is.
I'm a big fan of having
that guitar's one of my favorites. That's fun to play.
And this is one of the models that you.
Yeah, that's we call that the V4. I'm all clever. So the V1 was the version 1, the first guitar I came up with, and the V4 is the 4th, and I'm so clever.
There's an artist called Martin Creed. I was just looking. I've got a book of his somewhere right next to me. Here he is, and he makes artworks, like rolled up pieces of paper, but all his artworks are numbered. So the very first artwork he made at college was number 1, and now he's on like 400 and something, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. That was a big.
Oh no, much more than that. This artwork is artwork 1,219.
All right.
It's sort of painted wall. But I just like that idea of you've got your chronology. Then you know where it was with the artworks. But I like that idea with your guitars. When in the future, when someone does a retrospective book like the one of Fender on your books, they can definitely say which models came out at what time. I'm sure you'll have the V4 2032 edition when it.
Oh, definitely. Well, like I was messing around last night, and so the V5, which is basically what this thing is. This is just a destroyed version of that shape, and the little Baroque hook on the top is something that I like, but I was starting to wonder. Yeah, so this is like a new take on it. I'm thinking about building, where it's a little more sleek.
That happens sometimes if someone drives
crunch.
But anyway, yeah, that I kind of like.
I love that shape.
That it feels a little more. It feels a little more accessible. And that's, like I said, that's one of the big things that we've been discussing is not to go, oh, okay, we're going to make everything look like a Gibson or a PRS or whatever, because there's a million people doing that. But it can't hurt to have one or two horses in the barn that appeal to a wider range of folks.
Yeah, well, that shape is obviously less standard, but it's still kind of standard.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like a guitar. That someone that's not willing to try something out there would be willing to try, because it's like an in between.
Yeah,
it's like the stepping stone to harder shapes. Or whatever.
Now, if I can ever figure out how to get a red that looks like that,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like yay for Photoshop, but
so
reality doesn't seem to quite want to behave sometimes.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us a bit about the templates? Because I've seen you post about them a bit recently.
Oh yeah. So among the whole how do I speed up the process? My current process of doing any kind of cavity routing is I've got my stack of Stumac templates, and I have to double stick them down perfectly on the center line and route it out, and then pop it up and stick the next one down and do it again and again and again. And I just kept thinking there's got to be a better way, and so I started poking around to see what people were selling, and there's a couple different folks that have a system kind of like this. And I thought, oh wait a minute, so if I can place a couple of alignment pins outside of where the body would be, then I can have this interchangeable set. So like I could go, okay, this one's got I'm going to do humbuckers on this one, but I'm going to do a trim bridge instead of a tunematic, or I want to have a bolt-on neck and P90s or whatever. So I'm like trying to get these combinations of things that are all exactly the same. They're like everything is the same length. It's all 25.5-inch scale. It's all, as long as I make the neck the same, it'll work for anything, and I can just swap them out. And I've done some tests with it so far, and it's working great. What is it for like for the ones you were showing, that what is that 10 by 19 sheet of 3/8 inch plexi is like $28, and I take it into the makers who just design it out in Illustrator. So I got this massive Illustrator file with everything in it, so I can always pop up one of the other layers and make sure that I haven't tried something. And so I've got one layer that is just those alignment holes. So as long as I don't ever change that, they will always be the same. And if I bore through all the way through the guitar and use my little pins, I can shove the pins through, and now I can mount one on the back to do like the spring cavity. And right now I'm working on ones for the control cavities. So they all lock in exactly the same way. So in theory, I don't have the problem, which I often run into, which is, why is this 1/4 of an inch off? And that's happened far too often.
I've always envied people that had a setup like that. It's just every neck of mine is different than every neck of mine. I'm doing them from scratch, and every one of them is going to be completely different. I don't have a template, and I haven't been very interested in making a template for necks. So the heel is always standard. It would make sense, and if I was getting into a situation where I needed to, produce things quickly or mass produce, I'd probably wind up doing that. But I don't know. It's with my neck, I'm so specific about my stripes and how I want them to line up, and the proportions and the color and everything. It's every one of them just has to be one off. But I'm not trying to make stuff real fast, so it's not that big of a deal. But I do, every time I've watched somebody with that type of setup, I really do envy. If I could just route the neck, the heel, and then route the have a template for it, that would be awesome. But
oh man, so my experiment right now, I can't remember if it was in the video that I just posted or not, but I'm routing. Yeah, I did put it in there. I'm trying to route the brake angle into the body instead of sanding down the heel, and it worked. Except that the stinking little angle finder thing I've got is insane and not consistent. So I'll sit there and put it down and zero it out, and it says 0, and I put it up on the thing. It says 2.4 degrees, which is exactly what I want. And then I breathe, and I look over here and I look back, and it says 3, and I put it flat, and it says 0.2. It's like, so and it's different outside than it is inside. I mean, but it's still gonna work, and I'm gonna have to modify. I can't remember who it is that, if it's Potvin or there's another guy that somebody mentioned on the YouTube channel that makes templates a lot like this. And the one guy makes them so those alignment pins are actually like you leave them on the body, so it's like right at the base of the lower bout or whatever, and it's just a piece that sticks out of the template, and there's a bigger pin. And I wanted to be able to use my body templates for the router table as well. So I can't have any extra bits hanging off. So the body templates are different than the routing templates. But getting them to kick up at an angle so I can get that in there, and then find a stinking router bit that's long enough to reach that far down. Yeah. When you've got the thing up a little bit, I'm going to have to try to source those.
Yeah, that's another tricky part.
Yeah, I'm reading Big Unit Guitar. No one's the killing designing templates, killing time trying to come up with them. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent in Illustrator just changing things around and going, well, does this look right? Does that look right? Wait, does that curve got a kink in it? Oh, yeah.
I wind up making new templates in the shop during a project. There's all the time. I swear sometimes I spend half of my time making templates.
Well, what do they say? It's like making the jigs for, like somebody's making cabinets or whatever, and like they're constantly making sleds and jigs and stuff to make things go faster. I'm pretty impatient, and so it's like I have to make is there no way I can do this without making a sled?
Yeah. Well, there are times I grumble about, like, damn it, I don't want to make templates right now. I want to move forward, but I have to. I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought about doing the templates with MDF, and that's what most of my templates were ahead of this. But it just when I realized it all came down to having access to these laser cutters that I have right now. That was when I was like, well, wait a minute, if I can do this, it's gonna be more precise than anything I can make by hand here. So
I have a number of plexi templates that, especially for like body shape, or I want to be able to move it around and see what the wood looks like with, so there are times when I have plexi, even though stuff's, not exactly cheap, but a lot of my templates are MDF too.
Yeah.
But they're in a situation where you need a thick template, and
Oh, that's why I went with the 3/8 inch, because the first batch of StewMac templates I got several years ago were like super, and they're like, you could buy 2 and stack them, or you could put some. It's like, but if I have to raise it up, then I can't see where the center line is anymore. And I got plenty of instruments where if you look really close, the pickups are a little they're a little askew, because I couldn't. My eyes do not. I've got all sorts of stigmatisms and cataracts and weird things that make it hard for me to really tell.
Yeah.
If I'm right on the line, if it's raised up a bit. Yeah. So getting those plexi things with the center lines, scribed on the bottom, which is what they started doing too anyway. But the thicker templates were the ones that I actually bought more of those from StewMac at the time, because like, well, these thicker ones do what I need. And now I'm not hogging out, a 1/4 inch of wood on my first pass, which is always terrifying.
Very early on, I got a couple StewMac templates for pickups, but the shape wasn't quite right for the pickups I was using. So I gave up on that idea a long time ago and just make my own.
Yeah, I ran into that where I got the pickup. It's a humbucker template, and this is gonna be great. And then I went to put the pickups, and it's like, why does that corner not work?
Yeah.
So
I'm
like,
exactly the same. I prefer making my own. I've just bought a load of MDF because I find it easier to just quickly make one in MDF. Mm-hmm. And it's only if I'm using the same template over and over again that I would then go on and make a nice one.
Years ago, I had made a bed frame out of, it's basically MDF type material, but it's finished, it's like white, and some shelving and some stuff like that. And I've been using that for templates for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. Eventually I'll run out, but it usually got some trash.
Man, if you got the stuff, use it till it's gone.
Yep. Yeah.
I think Mick is not here today. I think it was Mick mentioned that his local IKEA has things they throw out, so like the side of a cupboard or something that they're not using. Ooh. And he uses those. And I've got a lot of IKEA based templates.
Check into that. My wife works at IKEA here in town.
Oh, really? Sacrificial lumber for IKEA.
They probably have some rule that says that the employees can't have it.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Right.
What about the employees' husbands?
Yeah, I mean, who am I? I don't work there.
No, I don't know. It's they're useful, but only for one-off quick things, I think.
Yeah, and there are some things I'm like trying to figure out. Do I really need a separate template for all of these things? So like the back control cavity, I was hoping I could design one that would work on all the guitars. No, the designs are too different. So I would need, and I've got one for this one I'm working on for my buddy Gary. I've got one figured out. I'm probably going to cut it next week. Basically it's a big rectangle, and but the center line is askew like this. So my 2 alignment pins are now at the top instead of diagonal, but it's still a 19 by 11 inch piece of acrylic for just one, and I need 2 because I need one for the cavity and one for the recess and I'm like, it's not stupid expensive, but it's approaching stupid expensive just for that one thing. If I could figure out how to integrate other things into it, maybe it'd be worth it. So I don't know. That might end up being a MDF job there.
There are times when plexi or acrylic is really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to see through.
The see-through part, yeah, being able to line it up for sure. What I started doing on my MDF ones is I would drill like a 1/4-inch hole right smack on the center line of the MDF so I could look and line it up through.
Yeah.
And that worked pretty well. I mean, it all worked pretty well. I mean, everything I've done up until now has been using MDF, or sometimes just draw the shape on the guitar and cut it out. And
I've done that. But I've also done like I do like template stacks, you know, where I'll have a 1/2-inch piece and a couple 1/4-inch pieces, and you know they've got index. I've got dowels for index pins to keep those together, but router bit depth seems to be an issue, and I've never had a plunge router, so you know I wanted a way that I can, you know, peel a 1/4-inch template off of the stack and go a little deeper.
Oh yeah,
you know. So I've gotten to where I've got some complicated, you know, templates that are a stack of shit with, you know, dowels and little tabs so you can pop them off while keeping the base one clamped in place so you don't move it when you're peeling layers.
That's the worst, man. Like, why is this not right?
Yeah, and there have been times I feel like, is this a stupid way to do things? I mean, I feel brilliant, you know, the way I've made this, but at the same time, is this dumb? Because this could be dumb.
The one that I'm really fighting with is, and Daniel, you just did a bunch of videos about it, was using the router table and a template to trim the edges of your project, which I did for like, you know, the first 3 or 4. You know, I built the router table just for this purpose, and then the very first time it mattered, I was building the very first V5 for my buddy Jeff, and I got around this part here. And man, it grabbed that and shattered it. It shattered it about an inch in. The wood just looked like it had been detonated. And so his is unique because I had to cut the part that was bad off, and actually kind of it changed the design idea a little bit because it looked better. But now I am terrified of doing that. It's like, I even had a weird thing happen where it did it with freaking plastic for a pick guard. I got around the end of the pick guard and it threw it like it caught end grain. It's like, this is plastic. There's no end grain. What is going on here?
Everything about the table terrifies me. I hate the table. And sometimes I got to use it. The router I have on my table sounds like a Cessna taking off, for one thing, and it spins up and it's friggin' terrifying. And this big, huge honking 2-inch bit, it just,
yeah.
I've just tried using a starter pin on mine, which I've never used before, which is something you lean your piece against before you touch the spinning router bit. And I thought that would help, but it's just practice, I think, because at the moment my problem is it seems to get in the way when I'm moving my template around. And that's just because I'm so used to not having it there and I just wobble all over the place or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've got to get a bit used to that. But I have got a video coming up, which who knows when, because it takes me ages to make them all, but I've half filmed checking the direction you go in relation to the wood grain.
Yeah.
So where I might flip my template over so the template's at the bottom instead of at the top, so I can hit the wood grain in the other direction, basically.
Maybe that's what I need to get, one of those like stupid expensive bits that have a bearing on the top and a bearing on the bottom.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I found that useful.
And I know, like right now I just got standard, I can't remember what brand, but it's just, you know, the 2 flute. Yeah, compression bits for the that's what I've been hearing. And then there's the, what is it, SPE tools. They've got this thing that looks like the Terminator. It's got little square blades all over it.
Yeah,
that's like, yeah.
That scares me. It does shoot you off.
Okay, it looks like it would shoot me off and then reach out, grab me, and pull my hand into it just for the spite of it. You know,
that's the sort of blade you have in a fitnesser, I think, or some fitnessers, where you can replace the blades, and it seems like a really good system. But when they're exposed and there's nothing like shell around them, they definitely scare me.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of spinning whirling blades of death and my fingers being near each other ever. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the. I mean, with the table, all right, with a hand router, I'm attached to the scary part. So if things go wrong, you know, the thing I'm working on flies across the room. with the table, if something goes wrong, I mean, you're attached to the thing that's getting torn up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's visible and it's right there, and it's terrifying.
I mean, back in the day, was it 2004 to 2006? I actually worked for a children's puppet theater, touring puppet theater company, which was maybe the coolest job ever. And yeah, it was the first time I like ran the shop. I was like designing giant puppet rigs and set pieces and all that stuff. And yeah, I've got 2 scars.
Oh wow.
One from building, but never good ones. Not for like a good reason. I was building a workbench because we didn't have one, and I'm trying to use this big ass DeWalt drill to put a drywall screw into a 2x4, and it jumped off of it and caught me, caught me right there, and it hurt and it bled. And I didn't have insurance yet. I just started there. I'm like, what have I done? and then the other time I sanded on the disc sander, the little right on my knuckle. I just got a little too close. And I remember people saying, well, geez, I know it's not Panelite. You should get a second job. I'm like, oh, right. I should be tired and work with whirling blades. That's a really good idea. So I am very, very, very nervous, and I respect my whirling blades of death
very much. Yeah,
and I'm going to start, offering up sacrifices to them every now and then.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised with myself that my fear of all the things I work with has not diminished. And in some ways, I think it's gotten even more. It depends. Like routers, especially the table, there are a lot of things I'm afraid of. My bandsaw, I have zero fear of my damn bandsaw. I don't see how it could possibly ever hurt me.
I know one way. One way.
Mm-hmm.
Dowel rods, large dowel rods, trying to go across it. It will grab that thing and spin it. And foot, and it's the loudest, scariest sound. And the funny thing is after it happened, I was inside reading something, and something popped up about, you don't want to do that. You need to have some kind of jig to hold it. I'm like, oh, good, thanks. But that's the only thing. I agree. The bandsaw to me is always, it's almost like, oh, that couldn't even cut me if my hand was there, because it's just a bandsaw.
Well, it's like I'm never gonna run my damn thumb through the saw. And
no,
it's not like it's going to grab it, and there's no kickback. There's no, table saw scares the shit out of me. The routers do. I mean, most things do, but the bandsaw, it's just a bandsaw.
I think just a word of warning. Sometimes on a bandsaw, if you're pushing some wood through it, it can speed up suddenly if it hits a bit of grain. So I'm always at the last bit when I'm pushing something through, I'm thinking I should really use something to push this.
Yeah.
Right. The only time I'm pushing into the blade, I'm doing it real slow and easy, and so. But normally I'm out of the way anyway.
Yeah.
That's one of those that people freak out watching. And, oh my God, you're so unsafe! I'm like, you can't see the angle that I'm seeing, for one thing.
Yeah. That's something that might be worth putting in some of the videos that we do. Is like, look, this might look weird to you, but understand from my angle, we're totally safe. I'm 5 miles away from the blade right here.
Yeah, I'm 2 inches away, off of the axis, and 5 inches away from getting there. Yeah.
But yeah, that like when I'm resawing something, that yink that freaks me out every time it happens. And I hate when I'm doing something that's kind of precise. And it's like, okay, I got to get this curve just right. And it goes, yink, and you're like, it almost got to the line.
Yeah. I'm usually not pushing very hard with the bandsaw, though. So
the blade do the work.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
You run into some situations where there's, some change in density, but it's usually not a big deal. I mean, you can feel it. You go, ooh, that's cool. But, I'm not pushing hard, so.
Yeah, I always start to go, maybe my blade's dull. It's like, I just put it on like yesterday. It can't be dull. There's no way.
Yeah, but resawing, it's got to go through so much material.
Yeah.
Mm.
I got all excited because I found out just last week. So I've got my planer and my DeWalt 13-inch planer, which is really irritating because all my guitars are like 13.25 inches or wider,
Yep.
so I can't run them all through. I found out that the makerspace I'm at has a 20-inch planer and a 20-inch drum sander. And I'm like,
Nice.
Sexy.
ooh. So I could like glue these things up and take them down there just for one pass to make sure everything's nice and level.
Speaking of that, and the concept of having exposure to different, I'm not even sure what the word is. I have thought for the longest time, if I had a giant sack of money that I didn't know what to do with, I would start a maker space that had all these, leatherworking and woodworking and all of these things, and hire a little expert in each of these areas, so people could not only come and do some things, but they could also come and learn. Do little classes and to get you some exposure into this and that and the other thing. But
it's so cool. I mean, when I started doing the motorcycle, I took a class there in welding. I've never welded in my life. It's like the whole idea of that was terrifying. And once I understood it, it's like, wait a minute. So with metal, I can put this piece here and I can put this piece here and I go, bzz, and now they're there. It's not like wood where if I, if I glue it and the glue like lets go and it kind of drips or something. It's like, hey, so this is pretty neato.
That would open up all kinds of ideas. I mean, my world changed when I realized that a glue joint is stronger than the wood around it. You can just stick it together forever and make all kinds of shit. Being able to do that with metal would just open up a whole new realm of possibilities. So I wish it was easier to get exposure to different media and different things.
I freely admit I am incredibly lucky right now. I mean, the fact that I get access to this because I'm teaching there is astonishing to me. And there's a few other maker spaces in Cincinnati, and I know people that use them, and they're all like, man, the equipment doesn't work half the time, and it's more of like a collective than a business. So and those are expensive. Even the just the laser cutters I'm using for these templates. I was going to do my necks last week along with the bodies, and I had reserved the machine that's got a 40-inch bed, and I got there and it was down, so I had to use one with the 20-inch bed, and my neck templates are like 23. So well, and I can't get a time on that machine until a week from today.
Wow.
So, and it's like, and again, it's like, man, first world problems, dude.
Right. Well, Lubbock's a relatively small place, and we just don't have something like that. And I would love to start something like that. If I was so rich,
what the insurance is on that. Because my dad talked about doing something like that, like, I don't know, 30 years ago. His idea was more just like a wood shop that anybody could go to.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea. But, equipment and maintenance, and you could get a grant, man. I totally bet you could get a grant for that, and local businesses to like toss in. So there's your future.
Well, I'd have to find some way to actually make it profitable. And, my idea is if I was just so rich I didn't know what to do with myself, then, it wouldn't matter. Something awesome. It would be affordable. You have all the lawyers and insurance that you needed. And you pay people to be, experts and help out with stuff and just not worry about whether or not it made money. You make it affordable for people to come. And
that would be cool.
That would be cool, but pie in the sky.
And that's the weird thing is you do wonder, what is the audience? I remember, I'll never forget this here in Cincinnati. Did you guys ever have anything like Mars Music? It was like a precursor to Guitar Center, the big huge Guitar Center stores and all that stuff. And they opened one north of town, and I went to it on their opening night, and it was Home Depot-ish size box store kind of thing. Absolutely packed with people. And I just thought, there's that many of us. There's that many guitarists and musicians and drummers and keyboard. Really? It blew my mind. So I've thought about trying to do something kind of like what, not on the level, but kind of like what Ben's doing here in Cincinnati. So I run this this film competition. I thought, well, could there be a guitar version of that where kids can come in and learn to build a guitar? I would have killed for something like that when I was young.
Sure.
But I just don't know. It could be like, two people want to do it and it's therefore not viable. So I don't know.
I think with things like that, especially maker spaces, lots of people don't know that those things even exist. So the audience for them is often an audience that doesn't know.
Yeah.
They're going to be the audience that's trying to make them aware of it and introduce them to it.
All right, well,
now you know.
Lubbock, Texas Tech University is a big part of Lubbock, and there's a pretty big art scene here. So they do have some things like, they've got an entire building that does ceramics and stuff. And at one point before COVID happened, they actually had free classes where you could go and learn some stuff and have some fun dinking around. That, it's kind of the same concept. It's just, very specifically about, one little media and art. But, and I think that kind of was word of mouth more than anything. I never saw any advertisements or anything, but there's got to be a way that you could, let people know that, and I don't know, there have been times I've just needing to find some way to get out, wondered about, classes, classes for anything. There's cooking classes in town or something, something to go do, get out and learn, meet new people. I don't know.
Yeah. Dan, you said that, that the waivers and all that stuff, it actually, at the one here, you have to take a class for like every sort of phase. And there's some stuff you just don't get to do. Like they've got a water jet cutter, which I think they said it can cut through 6 or 8 inches of steel. It's scary. But that's all I do is I submit my design and they do it, and you pay for the time. So some of the things you pay for, some things you don't. The CNC machines, I can't use those. I can just submit something and they'll do it for me. So there's a moment where it's no longer a DIY thing. It's you're commissioning a service from a place. It's just cheaper.
Yep.
We'll see you, Owen. Thanks.
Sorry, I just had a message that I have to go and pick a child up from school.
All right.
Not quite straight away, but earlier than I thought.
It's about time. I really need to be getting to work too. So this has been fun. I've enjoyed this one.
Yeah. This is great. I love you guys.
This is our longest one yet. Fantastic. Yeah. I do love when you we end up in conversations which are sort of tangential to guitar building, but they're about making and they're about things that we're interested in. And it's always good. Kent, hopefully we'll have you back on at some point.
I would love it.
We should have some group chats at some point.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, I wish I could do it every day.
Right?
Yeah, that's the goal, isn't it? We all want to just do this for every day, all the time. That's all I want. Yeah. That's all I want.
Yeah, I feel like I could sit down and just if I could sit and talk for most of the day and make for the rest of the day, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Well,
thanks
I love both of your projects, and you were one of my top 3 for scratch.
I really appreciate that.
It was awesome. But like I said, there are a lot of people that, God bless them, their videos just weren't fun to watch. Really, dude, another half hour of this? I got to suffer through it. So there were a handful that were really legitimately enjoyable to watch, and yours was definitely one of them.
Thank you.
I thought about mentioning it earlier, like Patrick Leslie, the school teacher that was trying his first build ever. There wasn't a whole lot of building to watch, but it was interesting to see, somebody that was new at it trying to fight their way through. But and very early on, like every video, he's walking around the school talking to the phone, and I'm like, really? I gotta sit here and listen to you talk about. But then I started to enjoy that.
Yeah.
It started to become part of the story, and yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, your videos were a lot of fun.
Cool. Thank you. They're fun to make.
Worry. I know it's right at the end now, but if anyone is watching this in the future, not in the live chat, do let us know in the comments that you've been watching and where you're from. It's always good to know that.
Yep.
And we'll feedback anything to Kent if there's comments or questions for him. But
yeah,
there are links to Kent's YouTube channel in the description, and 100% check out his videos. They're brilliant. Thanks, Kent.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to hit the end button. It's a little bit of information about the Gutierrez Cup, and then see you all next week with Big Unit Guitars.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Are you looking for guitar, or do you just want to be part of the community and see other people's builds? Why not take part in the Gutierrez Cup? It's a community build-along where anyone can take part by simply sharing your builds either as photos or videos on social media and using the hashtag Gutierrez Cup. You can engage in conversations in the comments section and get feedback from others. The build-along is named after Jürgen Zoller of Zoller Guitars, a valued member of the Guitar Builders Collective who regularly commented on other people's builds, giving them encouragement and ideas. The whole point of this build-along is to grow the community, to make online friends, to share ideas and inspire others. This year's competition ends on the 23rd of April, and if you're stuck for inspiration, this year we have an optional theme, Use What You've Got. You can find out more via the Guitar Builders Collective forum, the Instagram